Welcome back, everyone. So tonight I am getting my Olympus SP-570 ready for a trip out to some destinations along the Lake Michigan shoreline. It's going to be about 85 degrees tomorrow. And the first thing I'm going to do is get my Duracell rechargeable batteries in. Now, I don't know why, but I find that the Energizer rechargeables just don't work as well on these cameras. I would have been partial to Duracell, but I think it's for a good reason. I've just had bad luck with Energizer battery systems, but don't be afraid of the Duracells. They work well on these older cameras. Alright, gotta get that clicked in so it locks in and ready to turn it on and set the date. And I want to just talk about a couple of the features I really like about this camera before tomorrow. So the first thing I gotta do is turn this rascal on. It's a handy little toggle up top. And in the back, the screen should be showing up. This is something I always do on my cameras. At one point in time, I didn't set this date and time and year and all that, but I've been finding it helpful later on when cataloging images on my laptop. There are a few features that I really love about this camera. Number one has got to be the ergonomics. Not sure how I can see that, but your fingers just wrap right around this battery grip, and it's really a brilliant design. And if you can see from the side, it's concave. It's concave in here. It's just not your standard Olympus battery grip from, say, the SP-560 and SP-565 rather. Secondly, I really like how they have the layout up top. You have your command dial here, and you have your options dial to set exposure parameters. You have your exposure compensation, your shutter button, and over on this side, you have some of your autofocus options, and you have framing options for multiple exposures or frames per second, which doesn't really concern me too much in my photography. And of course, too, what I also love about this camera is its manually operated zoom lens. Now, it's not manual in the sense that there's like a helicoil inside that the barrel spins on with the lens, like the Fujifilm S9000 series, for example. It's a fly-by-wire system, so it's wire activated, so it's not quite as responsive, but it's not bad though. I don't really zoom in too much with this camera in fast action situations, so it's okay. And finally, there's a couple other great things about this camera I'd like to mention. If you notice right here, there's actually a metal tripod socket, which is cool. Olympus doesn't always do this on the SP series of cameras, but they did it on this one, which is really nice. And on the back panel, you of course have your LCD. It's a hypercrisstal LCD, so back in the day when this was produced, this was actually a pretty nice display. And of course, you have your four-way command pad back here. You have your live view option versus your electronic viewfinder option. And over on the side here, what I really like too are these buttons on the side for different options. You have your menu access, you have what's called your shadow adjustment or active de-lighting, which Nikon calls it, and every company had something that would bump up the shadows and the exposures because of the limitations set forth by the smaller CCD chips sensors in these cameras. And of course your playback. Overall, it's a pretty reasonable interface. I don't really like the menus so much when you have to adjust things aside from your exposure parameters. You have to press the OK function button. You know what that does is it gets you set up here with the classic Olympus menu system, and you have to kind of work through it where the yellow rectangles are showing. I'm not too fond of having to do that, and then you have to go back to this to get back to your live view menu. For example, when you're in the menu system like this for exposure parameters, you have to look through your electronic viewfinder. So it's kind of weird until you get used to it. Overall, though, I think it's a pretty neat camera. I'm on the fence about it sometimes because it's nice and I love the ergonomics and I just love the package, but I wish it was implemented a little bit better with the menu systems, but that's just a minor complaint. Once you get used to it, it's not that bad. But anyway, I'm going to be taking this camera out to numerous locations along Lake Michigan, like I mentioned. Frankfurt, for example, maybe Arcadia, Point Betsy, and anywhere else in between. Even on the sides of the roads, there's some beautiful opportunities for photos. Good morning. Today is the 3rd of June, and it's my wife's birthday, so we're going to be going, like I said, out to some spots on Lake Michigan to enjoy some sights in the day. So I won't be doing a bunch of filming out there, but I will do like some sort of slideshow of the images I captured today, and then maybe on Sunday I'll do a little bit of follow up with some thoughts about the Olympus SP-570 UZ. And if I don't, yeah, I'll find some way to conclude the video. But this morning I'm working in the newly constructed greenhouse, and I have to water some of these plants, make sure they stay in good shape so we can put them in the ground pretty soon. Our neighbors were kind enough to give us these beautiful starts. Just gotta make sure they're staying nice and moist. There we go. I decided to do a slideshow of some images with the camera. Some were from Frankfurt, some were from Elk Rapids. We ended up going to Elk Rapids. We didn't go to Point Betsy, and I decided to include a few shots from just around the area the last couple of years to show what the SP-570 can do. Please keep in mind that the images that I show are not edited, aside from being converted maybe from full color to a monochrome presentation. Aside from that, I don't mess with them.
Curiosity killed Marie Curie. You're becoming a curious one. Progress is looking an awful lot like entropy here in my 24th loop round the sun. I have the makings of Mustafa Saeed. I'll be dropped in the river now. Till the soil and plant the seed. Some things never go out of style. I will die just like neighbor Rossiki. Watch my labors do me in. 80 years, it would be lucky. Somehow it's enough just to have been.
My thoughts on the camera are this: it's a good camera. I just wish it was a bit more intuitive. If you have the time out in the field, you're not in a rush to use it, I think it works out great. And if you are, maybe look elsewhere for like the Fujifilm or the Panasonic line, a bit more intuitive there. But anyway, I really appreciate your time, and of course, until next time, get outside and get some fresh air. Adios.